Hello, my name is Todd Olson. I work for the Operational Excellence Group in the Nuclear Operating Generation Group in Lynchburg, Virginia. This presentation is on the fact that we need to implement lean manufacturing in our facility. We presently have a facility that builds a product that we developed in the 1950s and 60s, and we've maintained a great product through that time. But moving forward into the 21st century, we really need to shift the paradigm from the technology and the way we did business to lean manufacturing, which has a proven track record of improving both the quality and the throughput through a factory. So this presentation will talk about a training that we need to implement at the factory in order to create that paradigm. Today our company is at a crossroads. We have to decide which way we want to proceed. Do we continue to do the things that we have always done, or do we change to something that we can help us move into the 21st century? If we want to change, we have to all be moving in the same direction. If only management wants to implement lean manufacturing and the workforce does not agree, we will be pulling against each other and never be able to reach our goal. Just as if we had both oars in the water, but we're all pulling in the same different direction, we're never going to get where we want to be. The implementation of lean manufacturing at our facility will allow the company to improve throughput while not sacrificing the quality along the way. The primary issue is to drive the development of training that there is a lack of knowledge by the workforce on these concepts. The lack of knowledge leads to a resistance of implementation of lean concepts. Until the workforce understands what lean manufacturing is and how it will benefit them, they will not be able to help facilitate its implementation. Without the acceptance of the workforce, lean manufacturing will fail. The correct implementation of lean manufacturing requires that everyone in the company is looking to continually improve and is open to identifying waste in an effort to remove it as much waste as possible. So we first looked at the ethics of this. And first of all, we have the legal ethics. First of all, it's copyright. We need to figure out can we use this? We have plenty of training material throughout the facility and throughout the company that we've used in the past. Operational Excellence Group has been doing training on lean manufacturing. So we've dealt with this by understanding that we own the majority of the training material they really need. We can supplement that with other training material. If we do that, we will make sure we follow the correct copyright licensing. The other thing is learner privacy. We work in a facility where we don't want the learner to be shamed by doing well or doing poorly. And we need to maintain the privacy of the learner. Much of the testing or the assessments that we do will be private, and we'll maintain those as private so that the learners won't be shamed into thinking that they're dumb or something. That's the last thing we want to do. We will also have ways of coming back around and helping the learners to make sure that they understand what's going on so that everybody achieves the same end understanding of lean manufacturing. We also need to talk about this idea of diversity in ethics. We have an educational difference in our company. The operations folks are typically not college educated. They all have to have high school diplomas, and some of them have technical training, and some do have some higher education. And so we need to take into account that we also have a group of engineers and management that have a higher education, typically a bachelor's degree, if not a master's degree. And these two groups have to work together. So we need to make sure that we're addressing this idea that there's a diversity of education, and those levels we need to make our training such that we take advantage of both the hands-on people and the classically educated people to take those strengths into consideration and show each other how those strengths can meld together to perform a really great team. The other thing we're interesting is the diversity in ethics is political. Typically, our workforce is very conservative. If you can look around the plant, you can see that in talking to people. There are a new generation of people coming in that are more liberal and they're more progressive. We need to make sure that both of these people have their needs met, and we don't push the conservative people in the direction that they don't want to go. We don't push the progressives in the way they don't want to go. The training should not worry about too much about the political, but it does take into consideration that these two groups have a different way of looking at the world, and hopefully what we'll do through the training is get them looking at least our world of manufacturing the same way through the lens of lean. Now, what are the learning and performance outcomes? These are larger terms that basically says what are they going to learn and what do we want them to come out with. So first thing, we want them to come out with a basic understanding of lean manufacturing. That means identifying the 8 wastes. We use the mnemonic downtime, which we'll talk about later. But we want the entire facility to be understanding of what is lean manufacturing and how does it help. How has it helped in the past and how can it help us in the future? The next part of the training will be developing some lean manufacturing proposals. We will show each group that we deal with how to develop a proposal of how to implement change, how to identify the waste, how to be able to write the story, to make the presentation to management to say, hey, this is what needs to change and this is why. And the final aspect is implementation plans. Just because you come up with an idea doesn't mean it's actually going to be implemented. So we want to get everyone to the point where they can not only tell the story of what needs to change, but how they're going to do it and give them the ability and the authority to make changes in their own areas. Now, as far as instructional strategies, this is how are we going to do this? We're going to use mnemonics. And we've all used mnemonics in the past. We use them, this is a typical mnemonic that we've seen in math. In PEDMOS, we all remember Chief Sokotoa from our days in geometry. If you're musically inclined, every good boy deserves fudge, or FACE. We all remember banging on the piano when we were 10 years old and remembering these terms. If you were in the Navy, there's several mnemonics that you know that none of us can actually say in polite company. So we're going to use mnemonics, and the mnemonic of lean is downtime. Downtime talks about the waste that occurs in our facilities and how we're going to address it. And you can see here it deals with defects. We've dealt with those. We already have ways of dealing with defects, but there's a lot of waste in defects. Are we producing too much? In many ways, this facility builds more carts to produce product than it does product. Waiting, not utilizing our talent. Do we really listen to our employees? Are we moving parts around too much with this transportation waste? Do we have too much in inventory? What about the ergonomics? We've seen our safety record with the strains and sprains. That's a waste of time because we're having people hurt. It's not good to have them hurt, and it hurts the company. And then excess processing. Are we duplicating our efforts? So these are the mnemonics that we're going to teach everyone. And that's going to be the mnemonic that flows through the entire training. That's going to be the piece of the puzzle that stayed all the way through the training, and it'll be reinforced at every step of the way. So how are we going to deliver? What resources do we need? This is primarily going to be a classroom environment to start with. When we teach everyone the basics of lean, we need to be in a classroom environment because there is so much information to understand. Now, the classroom environment will also include a lot of hands-on. We'll be doing some games to break down the barriers in the teams. We'll be doing a lot of question and answer discussions. We'll be doing some simulation work. You can see here, this is some of the simulations that they do with lean, where you set up a kind of a mock factory and everybody processes through and identifies waste. So we'll be doing a lot of these to help the people get a hands-on approach to what we're doing. So it'll be classroom and hands-on. And then finally, we'll actually go out into the machine shops and into the production facilities and actually identify waste in their actual production facility and start identifying things that we can change to improve. So we're taking them from the academic environment all the way through into the production environment to go from the understanding from a head knowledge and to get to the point where they have an understanding of the hands-on approach to how this is going to be implemented. So assessment plan. So how are we going to make sure everybody understands what's going on? How are we going to make sure that what we taught them actually sunk in? So the first thing is an initial test. The initial test will be after the classroom training. We'll give everyone a test on lean manufacturing. What is it? What are the wastes? How do we identify waste? It'll be a multiple choice. It's not made to make people fail, but it is to test the knowledge. Now, when we test the knowledge, the plan is to test everyone. If anyone scores below 80%, we're going to recycle those people. This is where we take into the consideration of privacy. The test will be online. They'll take it on the computer, and then if we see some failings in there, if we see a group of people that for some reason just didn't get a certain concept, we'll approach them differently, and we'll talk to them on a one-on-one basis to make sure they understand what's going on, and then we'll do a simple retest on them. Once everybody's up to speed, we'll start doing group assessments. The goal is to put everyone into teams. And we're going to do teams based on a working area. We don't want teams that are cross-functional right now because you're going to implement lean strategies in your own area. So we want the groups to be made up of production people, engineering, and management of those different areas, and everyone's going to have the same voice. It's not going to be a manager driving everything or an engineer deciding what we're going to change. It's going to be everyone learning at the same time how to make changes. And we're going to have good ideas come from operations, good ideas come from management, good ideas come from engineering, and we're going to see during these groups that where we can develop ideas, and there'll be a number of group assessments to allow the groups to develop ideas and to help them through developing those ideas. And we'll assess them along the way and determine if we need to maybe redo a subject or go back into a certain way of doing things at that time. But we'll get all the groups to start functioning at the level where they're a team environment of trying to make improvements. And the last aspect of that is we'll do management assessments. In the end, management's going to approve the projects. Management holds the purse string, so we need management to approve. We also need management to approve because management is the driving force. If the operators see management are for this, they're going to be more likely for it because they know that management is the one driving the ship. It's also a great time for management to provide positive feedback, both in verbal form and economic form, to the groups to say, hey, you've done a good job, whether that's $5 in the cafeteria or a pat on the back or some recognition on a presentation. It's a great time for management to reward people, to really drive this home that lean is not going to be helping the company, it's going to help everyone. So the project timeline, with all this said, we would like to get the project started on 4/12. April 12th gives us time to get through the current quarter. It also gives us time to make sure that we've done all our preliminary run-throughs of the training to make sure we've got all the bugs out of it. The project kickoff is really a time for management to get everyone together and say, hey, we are moving towards lean. This is what we want to do. This is how we want to move forward. And we are 110% behind you guys getting this done. This is going to be an event similar to what we do for the Employee Appreciation Day, and we can also kind of add that into the Employee Appreciation Day if that's how we want to work it. So it's around the same time frame. So the goal is to have all the training done within a couple of weeks. We can do this because the training is not going to take too long. As we break down the groups, it's going to take a lot of work by the Operational Excellence group because we're going to have to do classes in the mornings, classes in the afternoons, and the evenings to cover all the shifts. Operational Excellence group will be adjusting their schedules to make sure we meet all the shifts timelines. We're not going to upset anybody's sleep schedule in order to get this training done. The simulation group assessments will take place a few weeks later. Once we get the test done, then we know everybody understands the subject matter. Then we can go into the hands-on approach, how to develop proposals, how to develop solutions, things like that. And then we'll by the middle of May, we'll be into the simulation assessments. In other words, they've looked at a simulation and said, okay, these are the problems here, and this is how it would fix it. This is not real world yet. This is just the idea of, okay, do you guys really understand the concepts if we give you some pretty easy examples? Now, the first lean idea management presentation is a month later. The goal there is they've seen everything, they understand, they've implemented from a simulation standpoint. Now they're actually going into their areas and they're finding ways to improve, and they're going to find the best idea that the team can come up with. They're going to develop a plan, implementation plan, and a presentation, and they're going to present that to management. And at the end of the day, the goal is for management to say, wow, great job, go forth and do mightily. They're going to be the ones who say, here's the money, and go ahead and do it. We're behind you 110%. With that said, that means it's going to take a couple of months to get the actual first implementation. only because it takes time to implement anything, and we didn't want to set a goal that wasn't achievable. These goals need to be achievable. First Lean implementation of August 1st is very achievable based on the timeline we have. And not only very achievable, but I believe it's something that will push the groups to compete against one another. I would love to see a reward for the first group to implement Lean, and then maybe some subsequent rewards off of that. But we can discuss that later. So the goal of this presentation was to kind of give you an idea of where we're heading, how we're going to get there on Lean manufacturing. If we follow this principles, we provide the training, we can shift the paradigm of our company from doing things which we do well, but we were developed in the 50s and 60s, to a point where we're getting better throughput, the same if not better quality, and we're doing things better and smarter. And as our workforce, especially the experienced workforce, starts to retire and these new people come in and we don't have the same kind of experience, we're going to need that lean manufacturing to come in, because that'll set the stage for people being able to come in and very easily pick up what's going on here and how to do things. I know there's probably many questions, so we'll move into a question time. If anybody has any questions, we'll go into that and see if I can address your questions and concerns, and hopefully move forward with lean manufacturing in the near future. With that, thank you very much.